Sample 4, Leo, Moon in Taurus, big sign, Sun conjunct Jupiter. You know, but from Germany, so certainly there's been a change of countries and change of things in her life, but she has the Sun up in the 10th house conjunct Jupiter. That's one of the luckiest, best places to have the Sun and Jupiter. It's squared Mars, so there's some fight about it. There's some struggles about it. You know, there's some battle. Mars, Jupiter's aggressive. It's like competitive. I have it. They understand. Oh, it's easy to get mad or easy to justify things. So her Jupiter starts, but her Jupiter steadily moves away from that square. It moves out of orb of that Mars square. It starts at about 8 degrees. So it's just out of orb anyways. It's moving but because of the Sun, it's tiny, but it moves out of away from that Mars energy. And your chart is not going to jump to any planets. It may, in 2047, it will go into Virgo. It's like the last lady's was going to Virgo. This one is going through Leo, but it will, did in 03, November, it squared Neptune. So she has Moon Neptune. The other person had Moon Neptune square. This is the Moon Neptune opposition. So again, there's some confusion with the past, with home, with family. These things come up, and the Jupiter was trying to figure out. It would have built some drama up over those years from 2000 to 2006 or 7, while this was critical, around family, home. What am I doing? What am I doing? Where am I being? This puzzle of what do I want to do? And her Jupiter is going to have to understand that. You have to see the problem before you can understand it. But there might have been a lot of temptations or confusions and challenges to her understanding during that. And certainly, she can almost always expect to have her understanding different than home or family understanding. Okay, that's the Jupiter hitting. It's going to hit the Moon, then it's going to the Neptune, and then it's going to hit the Moon. 28 by 37, it's finished with the Moon. It hits the Moon. So from 2003 till about 2040, her Jupiter's been tied up with struggling with Moon and Neptune. Home, family, aspects, where do I belong, where do I be, what should I do, how should I live, what should I do? And it's also in 2nd and 3rd houses. And friends, resources, money, what are we taking care of, what are we doing, these puzzles are there. It's part of, there's a learning process going on, or you can't say exactly what it is, but you can see that this is going on. And as it lives, it goes into Virgo, and it's going to go into the Mercurial rulership in the last part of her life. And when it gets to Mercurial rulership, she'll get the respect for her ideas coming through that. So that's the Jupiter. Around it, the Mercury up in the 10th. Her Saturn, it starts in the 7th house in Aries. It backs up, and it's going to come along, and it will. What's it hitting at? It hits 8 degrees. Oh, it hits the midheaven. Okay, so it's going to back up. It's going to hit the midheaven in 2046. It's not going to ever quite hit the descendant. It's not going to go below the horizon. I mean, technically in the ephemeris it would go back, but her lifetime, that's 100 years. It cuts off. It doesn't get back to the exact descendant. So this is the Saturn. Seriousness, working through relationships. In Aries, it's like stop, go, stop, go. It has that awkward Saturn. But it's not triggering off any aspects except the square to the midheaven. It's working through the 7th house, and it will square the midheaven. Hasn't hit anything, but then you could go into the hexagrams that it goes through. So it starts in the hexagram of limitation, goes back in the hexagram called decrease. It's in those 2 hexagrams across your lifetime. And you have to read about it to see what they are, but it would start in the Gemini Pentan, back up to a Taurus Pentan. Won't get into the Aries. Just you can see these themes coming through. So it's simple things, but these patterns are going to be there. There's a certain seeming fatalisticness because these patterns are simple little things, but they have such strong implications for a lifetime. Is it so? Is it really so? And it takes you years to be able to realize, oh yeah, that was my progression. There it was. You can't always see it coming into it. But as you're going past it, you're like, oh, look at that. Really, the progression is really, the transits really pump you up for the first half of your life. The progressions really refine you and open you up to understand the last half. Okay. So this one, I put the Saturn, and you can see the same ones, just closer, backed up. So all these little things, it just doesn't quite hit the descendant again. Well, they say, okay, well, so what? But for that person, that's a significant thing. But squaring them in heaven, who's working, who's not, what's happening, what's doing. Saturn is the Saturn is the inhibition or restriction or discipline through relationships. So, okay. We're just adding layers of information on layers, and they fit together. But the time perspective, these slower planets, they represent slower shifts. Sometimes they're easier to see as you look back across a lifetime. Oh, I can see that 5-year phase. I can see that. Oh, yeah, I really was struggling with that. Then you'll know the specifics of how it happened. Coming into an advance, you can always say, oh, I got this bad, and you can intuit what it is as you're going through it. It's not resolved in a few words. These are things lasting years. Okay, sample 5, another Leo, Sun in the 8th house, conjunct Venus. Okay, but that conjunct Venus is square Neptune, square Mars. So the idea of relationships, what to do, what should I do, what shouldn't I do, there's a lot of confusion around this. Here I am. Oh, no, it's not Leo, it's Virgo. Sorry, this is all the Virgo. So see, it has the charm of the Sun. Virgo is a really nice thing. Sun of Venus, it's in Virgo, it's going to be cerebral. Mercury's in the 8th house too, ruling the Virgo. So normally that would incline one towards, you could say towards business, but it could go towards psychology. There's certainly issues of trust and resources and having beauty and being loved or being liked or having resources, being paid for what you're doing. But then there's the Neptune squaring it and the Mars. So this could be confusions around who's a reliable guy or who do I want to be dedicated to, or do I want to be? So these things were just from the natal chart. Her Jupiter is down here. She has the Neptune, Mars, Venus, Sun, Grand Cross, and then she has the Moon. Well, the next one is Jupiter, Uranus, Saturn. Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus. So it's Jupiter, Saturn. It's kind of a good aspect. It's understand and wait, watch and learn. But the Uranus excites it up and speeds it up a little bit, makes for a more unconventional outlook, which is up in the 9th house. So you're really working these with the understanding in the person's chart to begin with. Her Moon is opposed Pluto. So she has harshness around family and home and where she came from. The 8th has around brothers, sisters, around like rivalry, inheritances, who gets what, where's where. There's a battle. When she was born, her mother had a rough time. And then the idea of sibling rivalries is really distinct in this, but the Jupiter is tied into this. And the Jupiter, her Jupiter starts at 24 and it retrogrades her whole life and it backs up to that moon. Doesn't get back to the Pluto, but it gets back over the moon. So her whole life of understanding things, understanding family, understanding brothers and sisters, traveling, where am I living, what am I doing? These are all the puzzles of her Jupiter progressing through Aries in the 3rd house. But it backs up and goes back to the moon, doesn't hit other aspects. So continue. This is for learning, for studying, for teaching, for understanding things. You see, astrology would be a beacon of light, clarity. But it doesn't necessarily, just because you have the clarity, doesn't living up to things, solving things, that Venus, Moon, Venus, Mars, Neptune, T-square in return. There's still a puzzle. Where do I belong? What am I doing? Who's real? Who's not? Being there. You can even say that if she came from a family that there was struggles around the family's not going to get along of who's going to get the inheritance when mom or dad passes away. There'll be struggles around it, confusions around that. It's going to take a good understanding, Jupiter, to figure out how to deal with that. Okay, and now our Saturn, it just moves 2 degrees forward and then goes retrograde. But in that 2 degrees, it does a whole bunch of things. It's just in the 7th house, 3rd house, 7th house. These are big phases. So you can't just blatantly say this is that. There's your Jupiter. We just went over that and going forward. That was straightforward. going back, but it's going, her understanding going back, more and more having to understand the family or where she came from or why. Or perhaps a misunderstanding, understanding or misunderstanding can build until that develops. In the progression, your soul is eventually growing and learning through it. So even a misunderstanding, there's something to be learned through it. But her Saturn here, it only moves a couple of degrees, but in that couple of degrees, it's going to make a square to something. It's going to go into, from Cancer into Leo. It's going to, then it's going to go make another aspect, and it's going to square it, then it's going to turn around and go stationary retrograde. So go stationary, and then it's going to come back to this point. So, okay, I got to go back to see what these aspects are. Yeah, Uranus and the midheaven are just at the end of Libra, beginning of Scorpio. It's going from the end of Cancer to the beginning of Leo. So it's going to go forward, hit the Uranus, and then move into Scorpio. Then it's going to hit the midheaven. And I didn't write the date when it actually retrogrades, but there'll be a point where it retrogrades, and so she's going to go through these, but it's going to come back to the point where it hits the midheaven again at the here. So when you have this, you're going to have to take some time and look at this, look at your history, try and see these long-term phases, and try and see the Saturn surfacing. What was to be learned when Saturn hit Uranus? Did I break away from home or family during this period? Or that she's born in 75, so she's only 16 when it first touches, it squares Uranus. 16, so she's about 24 when it changes sign into Leo. Saturn going from the Cancer, where it's detriment into Leo. It's certainly a positive, but it's still detriment because it's opposing the Aquarius. But it's then it's going to move up and square the midheaven. What am I going to work at? I got to do something. And this is all happening in her 7th house, around relationships, around work, around achievements, around responding to other people. But I mean, if we again just back up for a second. The answers are in the natal chart. The answers to the transits are in the natal chart. The answers to the progressions are in the natal chart. You see the basic setting, and you see how they're changing and how they're shifting around it. Her Saturn square Uranus, it's going to, and square to midheaven means a lot of unstable jobs, sudden changes around work. And she's trying to get it. She's trying to do it. She's smart. Capricorn rising, Virgo, Aries, strong, but the Saturn is trying to accomplish, and there's one part of her is codependent, the other part's she could have a job that keeps changing place, being in different places and changing. So the Neptune, Mars, Venus, in the chart, there's some confusion around relationships. Mars, Neptune, Venus, Neptune, and sometimes that can lead to alcohol problems and stuff, and not always, but alcoholism, this is sometimes involved with the Venus, but she has her Sun nicely placed conjunct Venus, but it's still attached by these things. So it may be, how do you find a reliable guy or a reliable job? Or do you even want one? Okay, so I just got to show, I'm not going to conclude everything, but my point is that these phases are significant. And if you take, especially the Saturn one, her just changes 2 hexagrams like mine did. And the lines of the hexagrams and the changes are really going to significantly point this. So I didn't put the retrograde point in, what would have retrograde and then backed up. So, yeah, so it doesn't quite come back to hit that midheaven again.